my spiced ginger molasses cookies. One of the reasons I love homemade cookies, besides eating them, is that they are a little bit funky. They don't look like they came from the store. They're not perfectly round. When you smash it with the tamper or the measuring cup, they're a little bit abstract, and then when you dip them or roll them in that granulated sugar and you press them, you get these crystals, and to me they just look like edible jewelry. For the person who asked for ginger molasses cookies, you know who you are. This is for you. So to start with, these ginger cookies have both dried ground spices and fresh ginger, which makes them really, really flavorful. And then there's the addition of molasses. So I got my spices from Thrive Market, and I have a video of an unboxing with information about how you can purchase from them as well. So I will link to that in the description below. But these cookies include ground cinnamon, ground cardamom, ground ginger, ground nutmeg, and then either ground cloves or ground allspice. So this recipe is really easy. I'm starting with 3/4 cup butter and 1/4 cup of molasses in my mixing bowl. And I'm just gonna beat those together. So typically when you make cookies, you cream together the butter and the sugar. In this case, I like to do the butter and molasses together so they are getting nice and combined, and then I add in my sugar. And in this case, I'm using 3/4 cup of brown sugar. And I will link a recipe in the description below so you'll have all of these proportions and ingredients. Just mix that in. And 1 egg, which I forgot. So give me 1 second. Goodness.
Got an egg?
1 egg. So here's a tip for you. When you are mixing dry ingredients for a cookie, you can put them all in the bowl and then just put them right into the wet ingredients. But it is best if you whisk together the dry ingredients so it evenly distributes the flour. So in this bowl, I have 2 1/4 cups flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and then all of my spices. So I just take a fork, mix it together so that I don't have any clumps of spices, and to make sure that that baking soda is completely incorporated. I have a couple people in my household who are very sensitive to that and complain if they get a clump in their cookie. You're just going to put that into the wet ingredients. And then this is my favorite part of this cookie, is an inch or so knob of fresh ginger with my microplane, and you don't even have to peel it. You just grate that straight into your cookie mixture. Of course, if you peel it, it makes it a little bit easier to do this, but it's fine, just a little bit more elbow grease. And while I'm mixing up the cookies, the oven is preheating. So it is preheating to 375 degrees. I wish you could smell this. This ginger is so fresh and so pungent. It's making my nose tickle, but that is what I love about these cookies. And you can use a wooden spoon or spatula. You're just going to mix that batter, the dough together until it comes together in a nice ball. And once you get it so it's mostly mixed together, you can keep using your spatula or wooden spoon. I actually just like to use my hands to get it to come together in a ball. Okay, and at the end of that, you should just have a nice cohesive ball of spiced dough. My oven is preheating to 375 degrees. I have a baking sheet lined with a silicone mat so it doesn't stick. And the only thing that I need now is some granulated sugar and my scoop. From time to time, I will be telling you about products that I use and love, and obviously in this recipe, you're going to see my microplane and my scoop. I will link to those products in the description below because I find them super, super helpful. So you have your dough. I'm going to use my scoop, and I'm just going to drop that batter into the granulated sugar. I'm going to roll it in this sugar, and it creates a nice, crystally, beautiful bite to the cookie, and it's really pretty. I don't think I mentioned it before, but this recipe makes about 20 cookies, maybe a little bit more, but of this size scoop. Okay, once you have your 12 cookies on your tray, you just want to flatten them a little bit. And you can do one of two things. I like to use a tamper, but if a lot of people don't have this, so you don't have to use that, but it just makes it really easy to flatten those cookies a little bit. And if you don't have a tamper, I also just use the bottom of a measuring cup. And so you just want to press that down. Super easy, not too flat. And then these cookies are going to go in the oven 375 degrees for 12 minutes. That renders the cookies nice and chewy and a little bit soft. If you want them more like a ginger snap, then I would leave them in there for about 15 minutes. They are going to get harder as they cool, but for this, to keep them nice and chewy, 12 minutes is perfect. Okay, so these cookies were in the oven and you want to leave them on the baking sheet for at least 5 minutes to cool before you pull them off. Because they are soft and they harden as they cool, if you pull them off too soon, they're going to crumble. And then we will pull them off and let them cool completely on the wire rack. So I told you in the beginning that one of the reasons I chose to make this cookie was that one of our subscribers requested it. She wanted a ginger molasses cookie. So that's what we have, ginger and molasses, and it has both the fresh ginger and the dried ground ginger. Now, that was my first reason for making this cookie. My second reason is that I love spiced cookies. And I think it has something to do with growing up in the Netherlands where they have these speculoos cookies. Now, these are not anything close to the texture of a speculoos, which is crispy and thin, but it has all of the flavors that remind me of that. And so I love making these cookies. They smell so good, and then they're just beautiful and chewy with that nice crisp sugar crunch around the edges. Delicious.